This is Common Knowledge, a Magic the Gathering podcast about improving at the game with a focus on pauper play. It's not about the cost, it's about the knowledge. Welcome to Common Knowledge. Here are your hosts, Brandon Clark and Lobbert. Enjoy this week's episode of Common Knowledge.
What up, everybody? Welcome to episode 24 of the Common Knowledge Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Clark, and joining with me is the ineffable Sean the Lobbert.
What's up, man?
I don't like you anymore.
Oh, because of the Star Wars thing?
No, you're just not a good person anymore because of the Star Wars thing.
Well, being your friend's overrated, just like, Star Wars.
Woo! How was your week, man?
Pretty good. Still hectic, but getting by. Doing the things.
That's good. Doing the things, getting the stuff, bringing the bacon.
How's your week?
It was pretty good also.
How you feeling your time with no job? Just going to school?
Mostly I'm just chasing a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Keeping up on housework.
That sounds worse.
It might be. Honestly, might be. But yeah, school's going good. We have a sponsor for our show, puremtgo.com. They are a great place to go to find articles, deck lists, all the good stuff, Magic Online related information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boo, boo, boo. Choo. Also, you can do another thing. What's that thing?
You can go to patreon.com/common knowledge and
I was gonna do the email first. I don't care. Keep going. You can Patreon us on patreon.com.
The email thing's not even written in our intro.
No, it's not. It's for the very end, but I was going to do it first to throw you off.
Oh.
Keep you on your toes.
We got a script here. You got to follow the script. I get confused.
Good. It's what you deserve. You Star Wars hating, scruffy looking nerf herder.
Anyway, you can go to patreon.com/common knowledge and donate to us if you find that we are worth it to you. If the knowledge we give is worth it to you, you don't have to care about us as people.
It is pretty common knowledge, though, so.
We try.
We do. But hey, we're doing cool stuff for Patreons. So if you go and become one of our Patreons at patreon.com, then your patronage will be rewarded with stuff.
Exclusive videos right now.
Yeah, that's what we got right now. But I've got some ideas too that I want to talk about with Sean, and Sean's got some ideas, and we want to do cool stuff for you guys. So go give us your money so we can do cool stuff for you guys.
Yeah, and thanks to the people that are.
Yeah, big shout out to those guys. Don't forget to also check out the other podcasts in the Constructed Criticism Network, that being the podcast Constructed Criticism and Limited Time Only, both hosted by the lovely Spencer Howland. He's just a lovely person.
Yeah, he said on Facebook today that Constructed Criticism is getting a new host, and it's a mystery to everyone,
Really?
including us, who that's going to be. Unless it's you.
I didn't even... No. No. Not to say Spencer doesn't care about this podcast, but I think he cares a lot more about his other podcasts to let me be a part of them.
Yeah, it's definitely got its legs under it more than ours. We're just getting there. We're on episode 24, and they're on episode
That's exactly what episode we're on.
Yeah, they're on episode 700 or something like that. I don't.
Also, you have to be good at Magic for those podcasts, right?
We're pretty good at Pauper, but we're not pros, and I don't think Pauper has pros.
I don't know that I would even say I'm very good at Pauper. I just play the best deck in the format and get by on that crutch. But he's got actual professional Magic players hosting those podcasts, silver level pros, and it is a mystery who this new guest will be. But it is not a mystery that it will not be me.
Okay.
I wouldn't even consider that for a millisecond. Cool. Well, I guess that was our intro. So should we move on to the next segment of our show?
Yeah. What are you playing this week, Brandon?
What are you playing is the segment of our show. Boom.
If anyone wants to send us like bumpers for any of our segments, I would appreciate that a lot.
You don't like my own?
Not as much as like something actually produced with
This
like
is
a
this is
real
why I don't
singing
like you.
voice.
First, you don't like Star Wars. Then you tell me that my singing voice isn't even real.
And I don't like your mic.
No, my mic is horrible.
Like your singing voice.
I'll at least take that. At least like insult my singing voice. Don't deny its existence. Not a real singing voice. It is a real singing voice. It's not a good voice, but it's real. It exists. It's there. You just deny it like it doesn't even exist? That's more offensive than you insulting me.
What are you playing?
I played Tribe Combo this week.
How'd that go?
Oh, that deck is surprisingly more difficult to play than I gave it credit for.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you don't think about card management in your hand that often with other decks.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times with this deck, it's like, do I need to play this land here?
Yeah.
Like, maybe I don't. And then you got to think, like, for your go-off turn, like, how much mana am I going to need when I go off? You know, how am I going to defend myself if they've got interaction of some kind? You know, and so there's just a lot of thinking, like, 2 or 3 steps ahead.
I know that the most notable instance of this deck being played is when LSV played it, and he's just really good at those things, but also he did mess up, and he was 0 punished for it. Like, you remember that? Just like the next turn he draws the perfect card again, and he's like, oh, well, I guess that works. Combo!
Luck, skill, victory, in that order. LSV.
Oh, man.
I don't have his luck or his skill, so I really had to, like, concentrate very hard, and, like, I was on, like, 2 minutes left of my clock when I killed one of my opponents. Like, I use almost all of my clock because I just have to sit and think, and I imagine that also has a lot to do with it's my first time, like, giving the deck a playthrough, and it's something that'll get more comfortable as I get more reps in with the deck.
Yeah.
You know, like Gift Storm in Modern. I've been playing Storm since I started playing Modern, and I'm at the point now where I can just, like, look at a hand and know, okay, this is how much mana you'll have. This is this and this, but
yeah,
I'm not there yet with this deck.
Those brain shortcuts.
Yeah, I haven't developed any of those shortcuts, and I had to be very careful and think a lot about what I did. And there was even one game that I missed lethal. I just, like, passed the turn, and then I was like, oh wait, I actually had lethal if I went off there, went for it. And they were tapped out, and I just, like, brain farted through my turn, I guess, like, just missed it, that I'm like, oh, I have like 6 cards in my hand. I'm good. But I killed them on the next turn, so it was okay.
Not punished.
Yeah. Luck and victory. What did you play?
I brought out one of my older deck lists. It's that Mud Brew that I built.
That's not Pauper.
The Mud Tron, just completely colorless Tron. It is Mud, and it is Pauper.
And it is Tron.
Yeah, I've been playing that a lot this week. A while ago, I changed one of the cards to be Guardian Idol, which is the 2 mana, enters the battlefield tapped. It works as a mana rock, but you can also animate it into a guy. We don't have any man lands.
Person. A creature land.
A creature. It's not even a land, but it works as a man land, basically, because we don't have any.
A creature land.
But it's nice to have the extra creatures, the extra ramp, but it kind of works kind of sweet with Haunted Fengraf. It doesn't count as a creature in the graveyard, and so when you're bringing back a random card, it's almost guaranteed to be like an Ulamog's Crusher or like one of your 4/4s. I just don't know exactly what card I need to cut. Like the Porcelain Legionnaires feel like they need to go down, and then the Rusted Relics feel like they need to go down. But I'm not gonna get it. There's a lot more, but I'm not gonna get into the minutia for super long. But I did play before, pretty much right before we started recording. I played against this guy named Goose. He follows me on Twitter, and I know he listens to the show. And so I decided to give him a shout out. I think he's like Couch Troll Brewing on Twitter. Anyway,
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, he's really active on Twitter, and he's always
Don't they
been
have
pretty
that-
cool.
Isn't that a YouTube?
You
Don't
know,
they do stuff on YouTube?
I'm sure he has a YouTube because it seemed like official stuff, but I haven't looked into his YouTube. I should probably
Like,
do
I feel
that.
like I've come across something like that on YouTube before.
Huh. I'll have to look into that.
Couch Troll Brewing. Yeah, it is a thing. He's just got some popper videos. Cool. Go check out his thing, his YouTube, and subscribe to his YouTube.
Yeah, check out Couch Troll Brewing. He's super fun to play with. Good conversation.
Awesome. That sounds better than my experience with my opponent today.
You should tell that story.
Oh no, I don't want to. Well,
Oh.
I don't know. He's probably not ever going to listen to this podcast, but basically he was incredibly upset at me for owning Hydroblasts. I was Mr. Moneybags, and
Yeah, he just lost
all
the
this
card,
stuff.
and it's one of those cards that is like a tiny bit prohibitive cost-wise, because you can build decks in Pauper for 1 ticket, 2 tickets that can do stuff, but
yeah,
the power level of this couple of sideboard cards, like both of the blasts and then like Gorilla Shaman, I've felt that like before I really put any kind of substantial money, and I was just getting free cards from bots and like putting like $3 into decks.
yeah. But like the other thing was, you were also just playing for free online.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you
the big
weren't-
difference.
You were playing in leagues where it's like what,
It's
12,
8.
10, 12 tickets, 8 tickets for a league.
Yeah.
I don't know. So like, don't play 2 leagues and buy a set of Hydroblasts, and then you're set for life.
It could have just been like gambling to try to get the cards. Like maybe he thinks he's gonna win enough, which is very possible. You can still win without those cards. I've
Yeah,
done it.
that's true.
He could be going for that and just trying to have fun in the process, but getting salty about it, that's a feels bad moment.
I thought it was kind of funny. Well, like, so he puts like in the chat like Mr. Moneybags over here with his Hydroblasts,
Which
You
is
know,
pretty
like-
funny.
pay to win kind of thing. And so I put like, I just replied with a question mark, like, what? And it wasn't like a question mark, like, I don't understand your statement. It was like I don't understand the point of your comment. Like, I'm not the only human online that owns Hydroblasts. Like, what are you talking about? Everyone has Hydroblasts, except you apparently. And then his reply was like, what part of that didn't you understand? I can't make it any clearer. And I just ignored him for the rest of the game until we got to the last turn. He attacked me with a 10-2 Kiln Fiend, a 10-2 Kiln Fiend, and a 10-4 Nivik Cyclops. And I blocked one of the Kiln Fiends with one of my Tireless Tribes. And I blocked one of the Nivik Cyclops with a Standard Bearer. He had 1 mana up, and I knew what was in his hand. It was a Dispel from a previous Gitaxian Probe.
Yeah.
And I already knew I had the win. I had the combo in hand, plus a Gush, plus a Circular Logic.
Yeah.
So I attack him. I throw a bunch of cards into my guy to make his butt really big. And then I cast my Inside Out. And then he casts Dispel. And this is probably where it was a little trolly, but I put GG in the comment and then paused for a few seconds, like in response to his Dispel. Like GG, and then paused, and then Circular Logicked it. And he left that match faster than anyone I've ever seen.
I'm usually like, hey, don't troll people, but if they're gonna troll you, just go ahead and do it back. Like, don't be rude online.
I know, right? And I don't think I was super rude. Like, I only typed 3 things in the chat bar: a question mark and GG. I was just trying to say good games because they were close games. I actually think that Is It Blitz might be a bad matchup for Tribe, at least game 1, because they're incredibly fast compared to Tireless Tribe. Like, Tireless Tribe takes a little bit of setup and there's not a lot of interaction. And, like, he ran me over game 1. Like, it wasn't even close. But game 2, I was able to bring in Hydroblasts and Standard Bearers, and at that point it felt really favorable.
Yeah,
so I don't know. It might depend. It might be Drago dependent, but I think game 1 is close to unwinnable for Tribe. It just felt that way game 1, and then games 2 and 3 it's sort of draw dependent. And
yeah, I know that Is It Blitz suffers from it. You know, both Pyroblast and Hydroblast can hit their main threats. And their combo pieces, whereas like they can hit your Inside Out, but by the time you cast Inside Out, you have so much backup it doesn't matter,
right?
And you can't actually hit the Tireless Tribe. Anyway,
so next topic, insert catchy music here.
Card of the week.
You have a lovely singing voice, Sean, and it is a very real voice. And as your friend, I'm acknowledging it and trying to build you up.
You're wrong.
Well, you don't like Star Wars, so your opinion doesn't matter. What's our card of the week?
It's Seagate Oracle. It's
Hey,
Seagate Oracle.
I put the space there, okay? I fixed it for you. Jeez.
It might actually be one word.
Grammar Nazi over here. No, it's not one word.
Okay.
I'm gonna double check.
It's 3 words.
See? Boom. Seagate. Boom. Boom.
So just Seagate Oracle, just real quick. It is a 3 mana, 2 generic and a blue for a 1/3 human wizard. When it enters the battlefield, you look at the top 2 cards of your library, put 1 in your hand and 1 on the bottom of the library.
So we decided to talk about this card this week because Marasa Tron has seen quite an uptick this last month as far as its standings in challenges and the like. And this deck noticeably plays Seagate Oracle, over Augur Bolus. And so I thought it'd be kind of cool to talk about Seagate Oracle and discuss the similarities between the 2 cards and then the contrasts between the 2 cards. And maybe a little bit about why, decks like Tron are electing to play, one over the other. And sort of the first thing is the similarities is they're both 1/3s, and they both replace themselves with a card. The big differences between the 2 cards are Augur Bolus looks at 3 cards, Seagate Oracle looks at 2 cards. Augur Bolus can only take non-creature, instants and sorceries, specifically instants and sorceries. Seagate Oracle can take either of the 2 cards. So Seagate Oracle is basically just sleight of hand with a 1/3 body. One's 2 CMC, one's 3 CMC. Augur is 2 converted mana cost, and then Seagate Oracle costs a mana more. It's 3.
So one of the biggest reason you play Seagate Oracle over Augur Bolas is because you don't have that instant and sorcery count. And I know that Tron specifically plays it because it can find those Tron pieces. And they're just trying to get that by turn 3 or turn 4 or 5. And Seagate Oracle kind of comes down to just the right time and it can find those cards. I've noticed that Augur of Bolas does whiff a substantial amount of the time.
Yeah, even in decks like, Delver, it still whiffs a lot.
Because a lot of their counterspells are creatures, and every deck is going to have, about 20 cards that are lands, and if you add in 17 creatures or something like that, it comes pretty close to 1 in 3 cards are going to be instants and sorceries. It can be higher than that, but one of those 3 cards that you get is probably going to be one. It's rare that you get to choose from 2 or 3 cards on what you're going to get. So Augur of Bolas does a really good job of stopping the ground just like Seagate Oracle, but you really got to want those instants and sorceries.
Yeah, and it is really nice that Seagate Oracle can never ever whiff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'll always get something out of it. And I don't know. Honestly, I think that if Augur of Bolas was 3 CMC, it wouldn't get played.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, like, it's only getting played because it costs 2 mana. And that just makes it so much more efficient in the decks that have that instant sorcery count to justify it.
The thing with the cards that you're getting off of Seagate Oracle, like hitting a creature off of that, I think the value of that card is so much higher than any instant or sorcery. Like the highest value one you're going to get is probably Counterspell.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it also depends on the context of the deck. I think that in certain decks, Augur would still see play over Seagate Oracle, even if it was 3 mana. Like, Tribe Combo comes to mind, because they're just looking for specifically Inside Out or combo piece. They can usually, and just being able to see an extra card deeper, I think is more relevant in a deck like that than seeing 2 cards and being able to take anything.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say even Tribe Combo, if it costs the same amount of mana, they would just rather see the Seagate Oracle, I'm just going to find my Tireless Tribe with this. I would rather be able to hit the Tireless Tribe than an instant or sorcery.
They have the Transmute spell that can go find Tireless Tribe.
And now they could just play Court Hussar.
I can't even remember what that does.
It's like a Seagate Oracle that hits an extra card, but you have to spend white on it. And it has Vigilance irrelevantly.
Oh, yeah. They could play that card. Yeah, I don't know. I still think that they would value seeing the 3rd card and digging deeper in their deck for the specific piece they need. Because they have ways to find Tireless Tribe, but I don't know. Maybe they would rather play Seagate Oracle. And they're fine not seeing the extra card.
There's also the possibility that it just wouldn't be a deck if Augur of Bolas didn't exist, because it really wasn't a deck before Augur of Bolas.
That's true, too. It might just 3 mana for either effect might just be too much.
Because they return a lot of islands with those gushes.
Yeah. Many islands. Okay, well, I don't know. Those are those cards. I think that Tron makes the best use out of Seagate Oracle, just like you said. The value of being able to choose any card they need over a specific card is just so much higher in a deck like Tron, where they just have so many good cards in their deck that they just want to kind of rip through with their Seagate Oracles and just find the best one. Mm-hmm. Whether that's ensuring that they make their 4th land drop or, finding them another creature or whatever it is.
Like a piece of color fixing.
Yeah. Anything, whatever they need. Cool. So that's card of the week, Seagate Oracle. Let's just jump in, I guess, to our main topic for this week, shall we?
Yeah. Power rankings.
Power rankings.
This week, I put all of the past power rankings, like all of the data that we've gathered thus far, which is just since February, so that's 4 months, into a spreadsheet that it color codes it so we can kind of see trends, and then it graphs it, and there's so many decks that it's like really confusing. But for the top 5 or 6 decks, you can really see like the slopes and stuff. I might post this on Twitter or something, just because I think it's interesting. Kind of hard to read. Or just for patrons or something.
Yeah! You want to see this awesome graph? Give us your monies.
Anyway, so we can actually tell you, we can actually see what decks aren't there, which is kind of hard to perceive before. So hang around till the end to when we'll talk about the decks that have fallen off to the point where they didn't make a top 32 all month.
Well, let's just, jump right into it with our first place deck. This one's coming right out of left field. 51 points, Skred Delbert.
What is this deck? I don't know.
It's
kidding.
just like coming out of left field to crush everything again for the third month in a row.
It is, yeah. It's clearly above every other deck, and it has been the entire time we've done this podcast.
But it's fallen off quite a bit.
It has done nothing but go downwards.
Yep.
Which that's good because we don't have to ban a card out of it. But has been solidly on top of every other deck consistently. So usually what we do is we talk about a deck and then we kind of go down to the next deck and we relate it back. So as we go on through this list, it gets more complex. So I'm ready to move on from Scred Delver.
Yeah, me too. So second place deck with 41 points, and this one actually is kind of out of left field.
Yeah.
Is Marasa Tron. 41 points, total of 15 decks making top 32 finishes, which is more than any other deck besides Scred Delver. And yeah, looking at their chart, they were kind of like in the middle of the pack, and then in April they went March, April they went really down, and they were more towards the bottom of the middle, and now they're up in second place for this month. So that was really interesting and unexpected from my point of view.
Yeah, like I'm trying to logic out why this deck would surge up like this, because we were kind of down on Tron and like it kept on going down. If I had to point to something, I would say it's that Stompy has made a surge as well. And so now
Tron do good against the Stompies?
I want to say with all the moments piece that it has a decent matchup. I want to say that Marasa Tron doesn't want to see Stompy,
but it maybe is just
it can handle it though. I don't know. Like
I wonder if also Stompy is pushing out decks that are worse for Tron, and so Tron's just seeing less bad matchups because Stompy's taking care of them. Or
I think that I don't know. I'm having a hard time with it. Like I can't really logic this one out.
Yeah. It was really interesting.
I know that I'm trying to just look at all of the list and all the graphs and stuff. Like Burn has made a surge as well, and I know that's a pretty good matchup for Tron, just because of all of the Pulse of Marasas and
especially the way Burn decks are turning now is they're trying to rely on attacking with creatures more, and Tron's got good ways to deal with that.
Playing those lava runners, they've activated all of the fogs in Tron, whereas before they were dead cards.
On all the removal.
Yeah. Well, all the removal was good before because it was like they had to kill all the creatures that were like amplifying all the burn.
Yeah, so, but there were only 4 creatures.
There were 8.
Were there?
There was the tap to ping, and then there was the when you cast a non-creature you ping. The Firebrand Archer.
The Firebrand Archer. I forget about that one.
And then the Alchemist. So I think
it's the same amount of creatures. It's just
I just think there's more burn decks that are functioning in a way that Tron can beat out, and then maybe I think I might be off base with that Stompy thing because I know that Stompy is a problematic matchup for Tron, but when I look at Tron, I'm usually like, however good Moments Piece is basically the major gauge for how good Tron is going to be right now.
Yeah, it honestly could just be that Stompy is starting to push down a lot of other problematic decks for Tron, and maybe these Tron decks are just dodging the Stompy matchups.
Do you know what kind of deck Stompy is pushing down? I'm trying to look.
I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm just trying to take a guess. I mean, Stompy is good against Monarch. It's good against Delver.
You think it's killed Heroic? Because Heroic is one of those zero number card deck
I would imagine that is just not a good matchup for Heroic unless they draw a copy of Lifelink.
Yeah.
And can and can race them, but I don't know that a lot of heroic decks play that main deck. So they're losing game 1. And then Stompy's green, so they have a million ways to kill enchantments. So, I mean, it could.
And they have chump blockers for days.
Yeah, Stompy.
That's a very effective way to deal with those heroic creatures.
Okay, well, those were our third place decks, Boros, Monarch, and Stompy. We kind of talked about Stompy. Is there anything you want to touch on with Boros Monarch? It's sort of not really...
It's stabilized. Like, it's basically at the same level it was last month. Last month it had 30 points, and now has 33. Those are basically the same number. The month before both of those, there were 60. It had 61 points.
61.
So it had a huge drop off, and then it stabilized.
Yeah.
I want to say that Boros Monarch kind of like stepped up, punched Scred Delver in the teeth, and then everyone else clawed it back to where it was supposed to be.
Yeah, where it belongs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And looking at your graph, the line that Stompy does, it's just almost a straight 45-degree incline up.
It is. That's
February.
interesting.
Like it's just like as all these other decks are waving and fluctuating, and it's weird. It's interesting. I really am not sure what it is about it that is causing it to go up. It maybe could just be that the format's correcting itself, and it's got a good matchup with Scred Delver, which is the most popular deck in the format. And honestly, I don't know what made it go so low in February.
The argument back then was that Elves kind of killed it, and Elves is one of those, like, it was super up back in February and before then, and then it kind of got beat down. This month it's up again, but
it is up a little bit.
Elves is a difficult matchup for Stompy, because Stompy, if they resolve a Well-Wisher, all of the Stompy runs a lot of Elves. Like, you kind of don't think about it.
But I mean, Elves does kind of get pooped on by the other top decks in the format, by Delver and by Marasatron and by Boros Monarch. And Stompy has a decent matchup with all three of those decks.
And Elves it always has a chance, though. It's like one of those, like, you can never count it out decks.
Right. Yeah, but
it's
inconsistent, and these decks have what it takes to kill them. I mean, Marasatron has main deck Electricaries, Scred Delver sideboards into Electricaries and Swirling Sandstorms, and they just have 8 Lightning Bolts main deck, and Boros Monarch has, a million things. You think about it, too, like, it gets Boros Monarch, they're going to come up the ground, they're going to come up the board with so many big toughness creatures, and then Elves is going to have to rely on, like, their Elvish Vanguard or that guy that pumps an elf.
Timberwatch, yeah.
Timberwatch elf. And it's not difficult to just fog the Elvish Vanguard with your artifacts. What is that artifact called again? Creature can't attack or block. You sack it.
Oh, Alchemist File.
Yeah. You can fog it with your Alchemist File pretty easily. You just are playing... You're giving me a weird look.
Well, you said... Okay, are you talking about the Vanguard and the Alchemist File? Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
The Vanguard can attack.
Yeah.
And then when they're trying to pump a creature with Timberwatch Elf, just burn it.
Yeah.
These top decks, they have a lot of tools to deal with Elves. And, like, yeah, Elves still sometimes can just have the nut draw that no one beats, but that's what... 1 in 20 games against these decks? For the most part, they're probably just getting pooped on by them, and they're just beating all these other random dirtly decks.
Yeah,
because they're just faster and more linear than a lot of these other decks, and they can't deal with it.
Yeah, you need like specific, like, targeted removal, and you have to be able to do that like 3 times in the first couple turns, and then you're basically there. But those 3 like major threats, pretty scary.
Interesting enough, though, I do think that of these 3 top decks right now, Marasatron, Boros Monarch, and Scred Delver, I do think that Scred Delver is the easiest matchup for elves to run away with, just because a lot of things have to go really smoothly for Scred Delver. And sometimes elves can just be too fast. Like sometimes they're just too fast and I can't get my red mana in time. And by the time I get access to my red, their Elvish Vanguard's already a 4/4. Or they cast a Timberwatch Elf on turn 3 and I was on the play or whatever, draw, it doesn't matter, and I only have a Fairy Miscreant in play and a Spell Surge Sprite in my hand, I can't counter it. Or they just go wide enough, fast enough that I can't bolt all their little things. So I do think above these three matchups, Scred Delver is the closest. I still don't think it's favorable, but I think it's the closest of the three that we're talking about discussing here.
So I don't have much more on elves, and we kind of skipped over our number 6 spot. Or did we? We covered number 5 spot with Burn, right? Or did we not? I think we need to go back to Burn, number 5.
Let's just go back down the list so everyone knows where we're at. So first place, Delver. Second place, Tron. Third place, tied with 33 points. We had Boros Monarch and Mono Green Stompy. Fourth place, we had Tribe Combo, which we haven't even talked about yet.
Oh, okay. So we're number 4.
Skipping all over the place here.
Let me see.
Tribe Combo, I think, is just of the combo decks. So I'm trying to remember how the chart, the Venn diagram of combo decks works, but basically it's like speed, consistency, and resiliency.
Yeah.
And measuring how good a combo deck is like how level all those three areas are. But like some decks are like, I am very inconsistent, but I'm very, very fast and very resilient when I go off. Or I am not resilient at all, but I'm super fast and super consistent. And Tribe Combo is like very middle of the pack. It's not the fastest, but it's not the most resilient, and it's not the most but it's like very balanced on all of those things. Like
it's surprisingly resilient.
Yeah, it's resilient. It actually might be the most resilient combo deck now that I actually think about it.
It definitely is of the Pauper combo decks.
And I'm just thinking linear strategies in general, not necessarily just combo decks, but like it's consistent, it's resilient, and it's not too fast, but it's not too much of any one thing, right? It's just very balanced. Like it's consistent, it's fast, it's resilient. It's not the best at any one of those things, with the exception of probably resiliency.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it such a good deck in Pauper.
Yeah, I find it so hard to board against Tribe because any card I've ever brought in, they just counterspell.
Yeah, they have an answer to it with Circular Logic.
Dispels. Hydroblast.
Their creatures are very resilient. You can't just bolt it because they'll just discard a card and you've wasted your bolt for a random card in their hand. The only way you can kill it is after they've switched to power and toughness. But like the first rule of a deck like this is you don't want to interact with it during combat. But the nature of Tireless Tribe forces you to interact with it during combat. And I think that's one of the things that contributes to its resiliency. Is your creature is very safe on the board for the most part. I mean, they can still like Doomblade you or something, but for the most part, your creature is very, very safe on the board until your turn to go off.
An interesting thing that I saw this week is that Tribe Combo has the hardest time with an untapped Quicksand. Quicksand! It's the colorless land, enters untapped, you can sacrifice it to give an attacking creature without flying -1/-2.
Right. So they're just damned if they do, damned if they don't. You can't switch power and toughness because you'll make it a 0 toughness.
Yeah.
Like you're forced to just throw a card at it and not use your Inside Out, or just like never cast your Inside Out as long as they have Quicksand untapped. And like that's where Giga Drowse comes into play, though.
Okay, yeah.
Like you Giga Drowse them on their end step, and then when they Quicksand you in response, you just discard a card. But
taking a deck from like a 2-card combo with Inside Out and Tireless Tribe to a 3-card combo with Giga Drowse just by playing like your land and having it be Quicksand. I think that's a sweet piece of tech that I've kind of been looking for. Like, I've been looking at spells, and it turns out that it's a land, and that's how it's been hiding from me. I love that our major combo deck, I don't think it can ever get so out of control because Quicksand is going, like, has the potential to be like a moderator, because I don't know what could make Tribe Combo go over the edge of just like, bam, it has 70 points in a week. Like, becomes a problem. Because what are they going to do? Replace a Brainstorm? Like,
yeah, I don't know that there's like anything that can be done to make this deck like the best deck in the format. I don't know. That is nice technology, like playing a Quicksand, because they have to get like specifically Giga Drowse.
I'm kind of going off the deep end a little bit, but what if there was another Tireless Tribe effect? Like, it's a very unique card that, like, there's only one of it, but what if there was another one printed, like they did with Kiln Fiend and Nivix Cyclops? All of a sudden we got this new card.
Did a 2-mana Tireless Tribe variant?
Yeah, and it had like 2 toughness.
I still don't think that would make the deck. I think obviously like it would make the deck stronger, but I don't think that we'd see a huge uptick of cards. I think the only thing that would make it stronger is if it was a card that was like specifically discard a card, give your creature plus X plus 0 or whatever, and then we wouldn't even have to rely on Inside Out, and you could just play that creature and then just discard cards to it.
Yeah.
Like, that would be pretty busted. At the same time, no, because then it doesn't have the protection that Tireless Tribe does, because it can't protect its backside. So I don't know. I mean, personally, I really like this deck. I think that this is a really well-balanced deck, like I said.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it in my head of, like, a video game where you're, like, the stats of your character. It's not maxed out on anything, but it's just got, like, medium to high level on all of it, and you can stop it if you need to. There are ways to beat it, but this deck is just solid.
I see it staying around the middle of the pack here.
Yeah, I don't know that we maybe see it like sneak into 3rd place. I'd be very surprised if it ever broke 2nd place. Honestly, I'll just say I'll be surprised if anything ever breaks 1st place, like any deck ever.
Huh.
To Thrones Skred Delver, I'll be surprised.
If you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one, it would be Stompy.
That was gonna be mine.
Great minds.
So
only closer.
Are you ready to move on to number 5, Burn?
Yeah. So Burn, we kind of already talked about it a little bit, but what I do want to emphasize, Burn had 7 decks for a total of 21 points. And 6 out of the 7 decks were playing 4 copies of D2 Lava Runner.
So that seems like that's the new thing?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe my opinion is wrong on this, but Burn was not doing this well. Now they're playing D2 Lava Runner, and they're seeing a lot more success. But I still don't think D2 Lava Runner is that good. I don't know that it's better than the Firebrand Archer. And I don't know.
I find it really hard to argue with.
Shows one thing, but this is just 1 month of data. 7 decks that just happened. It could just be that we've seen a huge uptick in Burn because people are excited about trying to play Lava Runner. But
that's kind of my first.
I could just be very wrong. In D2 Lava Runner, it could just be the card. But
I know Old Burn.
Really hard to see it.
Old Burn suffered from its top decks sometimes were terrible because if it top decked one of those creatures, it did stone nothing. Like, you played it, they untapped, they kill it. But then Lava Runner has the potential to do damage and be more like repeatable damage without you ever doing anything. You can hold those burn spells. So, like, I can see its merit. I'm just so hesitant.
Maybe it is better than I'm thinking it is. And I mean, it's hard for me to like sit and deny data that's sitting in front of my face, but
Yeah.
it could also just be an uptick in popularity of the deck. You know, I don't know. It could be any number of variables, and I'd like to see more data before I start getting results oriented. You know what I mean? Like, I still, in my head, don't think this card is very good, or at least I don't think it's good enough to propel this deck from where it was to where it is.
It's just so hard to with all the blockers we have. It's hard to say that it's the way we're going, but I kind of at this point
I mean,
it had
3 top 8 finishes this month, and the other 4 finishes were top 32.
That's pretty convincing.
Yeah, I mean, I could just be flat wrong, and this card could just be the card. But I would like to see it do this another month. You know, stay middle of the pack for another month, and then I'll eat my words. But as of right now, I don't want to get too locked in on this is the card, this is the way burn decks should be built.
Were they all playing Keldon Marauders?
Nah, as far as I know, none of them were playing Keldon Marauders. They were just 4 Lava Runners, 4 Thermal Alchemists.
Oh, they're mixing the Alchemists.
Yeah, that's what I saw a lot of this month, which I think is better. I think it is much better to play Alchemist over Keldon Marauders, but I didn't see mutagenic growths. I mean, there could have been like 1 or 2 in there, but for the most part, I don't think the decks were playing.
Yeah, I don't think that's worth it.
Yeah, which is what we saw when Dominaria was first spoiled, right?
Yeah,
or first release.
The very first deck that was doing this was Marauders, Lava Runner.
1 copy of mutagenic growth, I think.
And then 1 mutagenic growth.
Or not mutagenic, Jataxian growth.
Yeah.
Not mutagenic, it was Jataxian.
Okay, I was like, why was that ever in there? But
I knew they were playing a Phyrexian mana card, and I just went to mutagenic growth. But it was Jataxian Probe that the deck was playing.
So Keldon Marauders, it's so alluring, but it's very easy to just block once and feel great about that. And then it just ends up doing you 2 cards, and you never cared about your creature in the first place. I was sad to see the Thermal Alchemist go, because 3 toughness blocker, that does a lot of work as a blocker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like having a vigilance creature.
Yeah.
That's an unblockable vigilance creature, because it blocks, gets in that 1 point of damage that you want it to get in. Like, that card just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does more damage, right?
Absolutely. And it doesn't suffer, like, Firebrand Archer did have the problem of, if you're not playing instants and sorceries, it's just sitting there.
Yeah,
and
like you said, if you top deck it, it's just a 2-mana 2/1
that dies.
And then you don't get a trigger off of it ever. So.
And if we're being honest, the attacking with it was a pipe dream. I've seen one of those attack probably twice, and that person
you're never trading it with someone's Fairy Miscreant or someone's Spellstutter Sprite that already countered your spell. And especially you're not attacking into Augurbulus ever, which is like the second most popular card in the format right now. So
we've gone over how many times that 1 toughness creatures don't hold up in our format, and that's
Lobbert Runner has 2 toughness.
That's really convincing.
I think that's its best stat, is it has 2 toughness. I could be wrong. I could be really wrong. But
I'm now that we've had this discussion, I'm like, okay, if you still got the Alchemist, Lava Runner is where I'm at 100%.
Okay.
Let's go.
I'm a little bit skeptical still. I'd like to see a bit more data, but
are you ready to move on to number 6?
I think I'm probably wrong. But yeah, let's move on to number 6. 20 points, we had Mono Blue Delver with a total of 8 decks. So Burn had less decks than Mono Blue Delver, but a higher finish, which is why it has more points.
So if you remember last week, do you remember where Mono Blue Delver was at off the top of your head?
Second?
It had 50 points, and now it's back down to 20. So that was kind of...
I think that's Stompy.
Yeah?
I think it's just Mono Green Stompy.
I think that's a good call.
I mean, Scred Delver can handle Mono Green Stompy. I say handle, like the matchup's closer, but like Green Delver, I think just gets rolled on.
Green Delver?
What did I say?
Green Delver?
I've like got Mono Green Stompy and Mono Blue Delver in my head.
You just call it Stompy.
So, Mono Blue Stompy has Mono Blue Stompy has, 4 copies of Elephant Guide, which is really good against Mono Green Delver. But the one thing I have seen Mono Green Delver do is they're starting to main deck Curse of Chains.
Are they?
Yes. That is something that I was seeing in this month's decks. And I think that is a reaction to the prevalence of Mono Blue Stompy.
My head's gonna explode, dude.
I'm done now. I'll just call it Stompy and Mono Blue Delver from now on, I promise.
Do you think
mono-colored blue Delver decks?
Do you think
decks of the Delver variety that are playing only blue sources of mana are playing Curse of Chains?
Do you think G2 Lava Runner has anything to do with Blue Delver going down? I want to say it does. Like the Spire Golems, I think they've taken those out of their deck a lot, and they've been replacing them with Augur of Bolas, and that might bite them in that Burn can deal with an Augur of Bolas and then just be like, well, I'm just gonna burn this. My Lava Runner gets in for 2, so I've only sacrificed 1 point of damage, but my repeatable source is here now. You don't have that guy so that you can ninja any of their any of their fairies don't profitably block Lava Runner anymore. That's all of the same logic that works with Lava Runner and like Scred Delver works better with Blue Delver, in my opinion. Bounce spells suck against a 1-mana 2/2 with haste, right?
Yeah, they do. I don't think that it's necessarily a reaction to Lava Runner, but I do think it's like a side effect. I don't know. I just don't see with how few actual burn decks there are. It's not. I feel like it's not prevalent enough in the meta to having a big noticeable effect on a deck like Blue Delver.
Yeah, Stompy's definitely.
I think that like Stompy is the answer to why we've seen the deck go down by 30 points from last month. But I think that like G2 Lava Runner is a side effect of that. Like it also plays a part, but it's not like I wouldn't chalk it down to like that is the reason.
Honestly, I was surprised that Blue Delver made that surge in the first place.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Like the graph is just nuts. It's just kind of flat, and then it's just like this big like boob, and then the line is pink and everything. Number 7?
It is weird. Yep, number 7. 17 points. A total of 8 decks made top 32 finishes for Elves.
We did kind of talk about Elves already, didn't we?
Yeah, we did a little bit. I don't know. I don't have anything really to say about the deck. It's still the same deck.
Okay, so are you ready to move on to Blue-Black Alchemy?
Yeah. 7th place deck. No, 8th place deck with 5 decks making top 32 finishes. On 10 points is Blue-Black Alchemy. And this deck is kind of going down, right?
Definitely going down. It peaked 2 months ago with 36 points, and then it went down to 19 and then down to 10 again. This is definitely because of Stompy.
Yeah, I agree.
This is why I'm saying that Stompy has the potential to be number 1 is because it just kind of came in back into the format and was like, I'm back! And everyone was like, no! Like, Blue-Black Alchemy goes down, and like I think it's shaking things up. And nothing got added to that deck.
Well, they started playing more copies of Elephant Guide.
But they did that right before it kind of died.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's super interesting what's happening with that. I think Stompy's a deck to keep your eye on, and anything with edicts. Like, I know that Mono Black did place this month. Like, it has points, but for the past 2 months it hasn't. And this could just re-kill it, maybe.
Yeah, one of the first things in my mind, if I ever think about preparing to play in a challenge, is I don't want to go anywhere near a deck that has Diabolic Edict or Chainer's Edict in the 75. Those cards are just not good right now.
Yeah, and elves just got better. That probably has something, or got more popular. That probably has something to do with it.
Ninth place?
Yeah, ninth place is Affinity with 9 points, 4 decks.
I feel like this is up.
Last month it had 0. Month before
Yeah.
that it had 4.
So
Month before that it had 12.
Affinity is on the up, which is weird to me. I don't know. Maybe it has a good Stompy matchup.
It does. Its creatures are just bigger. The Galvanic Blasts are good, and then it can, depending on their build.
Stompy can't really interact with the ATOG kill very well.
Really at all. Like, usually their way of interacting is like, Vines of Vastwood your creature. You can't do your combo anymore, but doesn't.
I guess like it has the option of trying to like fight it, during your end step or something, and then just making you
fight it.
Yeah, fight it with Epic Confrontation.
It's a sorcery.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, that card's bad. Yeah, they can't. They can't deal with ATOG.
Yeah, pretty much not. Maybe Boros getting less, like, not being the number 2 deck and kind of being on the downtick has allowed Affinity to move up. They've got to expend sideboard slots for Stompy and Elves again. There's some really scary decks that really buy for your sideboard slots here.
Yeah, and you're probably right about Stompy. Like, the prevalence of these other decks taking up sideboard slots just kind of lets these other decks slip in every once in a while.
I'm glad to see Affinity back.
Yeah, it's nice. 10th place, 8 points with 3 decks, making top 32 finishes, is Red Deck Wins. And there wasn't really anything noticeably special about these decks. They were just your typical mono red, get 'em dead kind of decks.
This deck is pretty much held steady. It didn't, like, it's just basically here. Like, Red Deck Wins is a medium deck in our format. Like, it's not tier 1. It's like tier 1.5. It's solid. I don't know what to say about it. Red Deck Wins.
It didn't have anything in February and March. And then in April, it was a little bit higher than it is now. Right? Am I looking at the right deck? Yeah, green bar. Yeah. Like, it was non-existent February and March. And then all of a sudden it just came out of nowhere last month. And it's just been holding that sort of consistent top of the low end of the pack.
It's always felt to me like crappy Stompy.
That's a good way to describe it.
It's Stompy that instead of pump spells, they get to play burn spells, which is cool.
Yeah. See, and I might be wrong, but like if I was playing a deck like this, I would try to go for more of a sly version of the deck, playing cards like Titan Strength and Dragon Mantle and stuff.
Huh.
But
I wouldn't. Like, you'd have to drop the cohorts and things like that. And they're very good. I would
just drop a lot of like the burn.
I think it's benefiting right now from Blue-Black Alchemy going downwards. Anything with Evankar's Justice in the main going away is good news for them. It has the potential to just bottom out and like just go away if, like, say, like, I'm gonna go back to Swirling Sandstorm. That Swirling Sandstorm wrecks Red Deck Wins. There's absolutely nothing they can do about it besides sandbag creatures. Stompy, that's not the case. They're still going to have... Well, it's mostly going to destroy them, but if they're playing Elephant Guide and they can land that, and then they're also playing Vault Scourge, there's a potential for that deck to still function, but Red Deck Wins just stops.
Yeah, and see, that's why I would go for cards like Titan Strength and stuff like that. Is like, I'm going to go back to that Venn diagram of these linear combo decks, right? Of they are, consistent, fast, resilient.
Yeah.
And red deck wins is like, apart from fast, it's pretty low on everything. You know, it's not very resilient. It's not very consistent, but it's pretty fast. And so I would just try to make the deck as fast as it possibly could be and just max out its fast stat and just try to get on with that by a crunch. If I was going to play this deck, I would just try to ignore everything else in the format and just be fast. And your Evankar's Justice doesn't matter because I killed you before you could cast it. And your Swirling Sandstorm didn't matter because I killed you before you got Threshold. And that is what I would go for.
I know that their biggest tech against that Swirling Sandstorm, and any deck that is really afraid of that card, is you play Relic of Progenitus. You play lots of them.
Okay.
Like, seriously, put 3 in your sideboard if you can't beat that card.
That's just my theory.
Yeah.
But honestly, my best answer would be don't play this deck. If you want to win.
If you want to play this deck, play Stompy.
Yeah, or just play Stompy. It did have 2 top 8 finishes though. They weren't high top 8 finishes. Like
But
they
that's
were
substantial.
they were in the 5th through 8th place slot. Of the 3 decks that appeared in top 32s, 2 of them did make top 8. So I don't know. That's something.
Okay.
11th place, 6 points, total of 2 decks. Black, White, Pestilence.
I still have a hard time respecting this deck.
I do too. I think that it's really just on the back of Pestilence is a really good card.
Definitely.
Everything else about this deck, I mean, Core Skyfishes are really good. Like, it plays decent creatures, and it has Pestilence. But
It's a very slow, kind of dirtily deck, though, that it's
Right.
like Pestilence is contingent on you having a life total that you can sacrifice.
Yep.
And it's playing those Chainer's Edicts. I've
Yep.
always felt like this is like a beatable deck when I've played against it. Like, no matter what I've played, it doesn't have that power. There's not something that I'm like, oh no, this is coming. Like, I know that it has good combos with like Guardian of the Guild Pact and its Pestilence, and it gains tons of life. I get the deck. I'm surprised that it has 6 points.
Yeah. It had 1 top 8 finish and 4 points. 4 points, that was a top 4 finish. So it was like 3rd or 4th place. And then it had 1 top 32 finish. So someone just spiked a tournament with it, you know? It's like they maybe just dodged bad matchups,
Drew well.
drew hot. I don't know.
Played well.
Played well. An amalgam of all those things. I'm on the boat with you though. Back to what I said before, I have a really hard time ever wanting to sleeve up a deck that plays an Edict effect right now in this format. Like, that would be my one advice to someone who's like, I don't know what to play in this format. I want to play a challenge. My advice would be play almost whatever deck you want, just as long as you don't have Edicts in your main deck.
I think that's right. If I had to make a prediction, I think this deck is going to have 2 points next month.
Yeah, probably. Oh, also, I'd tell them don't play red deck wins, but
I'd be more fine with that than
I
playing
would
an
probably
Edict.
say play Stompy. To a brand new player, Popper, I need a deck. I want to play a challenge. What should I play? I'd say play Stompy.
Or Burn. It's very
No.
respectable right now.
Play Stompy.
Okay. 12th place. Now we're talking. We've got 5 points with Slivers and Mono Black. Slivers, huh?
Yeah, both had 2 decks, so that means they both had a top 8 finish, and they both had 1 top 32 finish. And the Mono Black is just your straight run-of-the-mill Mono Black decks, and the Sliver decks were just your straight run-of-the-mill green-white,
Well,
play big bears Sliver decks.
I know that the Slivers deck was playing Adventurous Impulse. They dropped the Lead the Stampede, and I did watch.
Did they?
Yeah.
Not the deck list that I saw. They were playing Lead the Stampedes. There were
Well-
Lead the Stampedes and Adventurous Impulses.
What?
There was both of them.
Weird, because all of the Pauper streamers, like, there's a couple of them that that kind of jumped on and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna play this deck. Slivers is kind of back," and they played.
Like, I want to.
One second.
Like, they weren't playing a full. They weren't playing like a full 8 copies of both cards, but it was like 1 to 2 copies of Lead the Stampede at the top of their curve.
Huh.
Because, I mean, that card still just has a super high payoff of, like, late game, I cast my Lead the Stampede for 3 mana, and I draw 2 to 3 slivers. Like,
It's very expensive for that deck, though. That's your whole turn. Even late game, that's usually your whole turn. Like, so it was Kung Fu Trees that everyone was copying his deck list that I was watching, at least, and I thought that it did really well in a challenge, like a top 8 inch challenge. It was just running 4 Commune with Nature, 4.
Maybe it was only one of the lists that I saw, but at least one of the decks had Lead the Stampede in it.
Okay, I'm just saying, I'm not so big on that Lead the Stampede in that deck anymore. Like, I think that the tempo loss is way too substantial for the deck to actually do it.
I don't know, is the tempo loss that substantial when it's like I have a land in my hand, so I'll cast Lead the Stampede? Like, you're not casting it on turn 3, you're casting it when you're out of gas. So it's like I could do nothing this turn, or I could cast Lead the Stampede and then next turn play 2 slivers. You know?
I think, in my mind, the argument against that is that turns 1 through 4, I want to just play a sliver every turn. I want to fix my mana. Adventurous Impulse helps me do that way better. I would rather just find 1 Lord for 1 mana than 2 Lords for 3.
Okay, I can get what you're saying.
Anyway, and then there's Mono Black. I see that deck dying again if I had to... Like, I see it going back down. It hasn't even placed for the last 2 months.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a worse version of the black-white deck. And we're not very high on the black-white deck, so why would we be high on the worst version?
I actually respect Mono Black more.
Really?
Yeah.
I just feel like the white-black deck has better cards. Like, the card quality's just higher. I don't know, I guess Kumbaya... No, the black-white deck plays Kumbaj Witches, right?
No.
No?
Most don't. Most Pestilence Black-White Pestilence don't play Kumbaya Witches.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
and
you learned something.
They don't play... most of their creatures are white. Almost all their creatures are white. And then in Mono Black, oh man, just the... Do you remember getting Chittering Rats? Turn 3, turn 4, turn 5?
Yeah, I do.
That's pretty scary. I respect that a lot more than I'm gonna play kill spells until I get a Pestilence, and then I'm gonna slowly beat you down. Mono Black has the like huge life swings with like what it's doing is so much more powerful and concise that of the 2 decks, I'll take Mono Black.
Okay.
But I'm not big on either of them.
All right, that's fair. Next in 13th place, tied with 4 points, both with 2 decks, is it Blitz and Blue Red Delver, or Delverless Delver. So neither of these decks had top 30 or top 8 finishes. They were just both top 32 finishes. And this Delverless deck was really bizarre. It was playing no Delvers, and in that Delver slot, they had Ninja of the... Not Ninja of the Deep Hours, what am I talking about? They didn't have ninjas either, I don't think. Like, they just had... Oh, I don't remember. I do remember that they had Razorfin Hunter and Thermal Alchemists.
That seems like very weird.
One of them had Mole Drifters, I feel like. Yeah, they were bizarre decks, and I wouldn't really count on them to make an appearance again. But it was interesting that there were 2 of them. But they still played the Snow-Covered Land Scred package with Ash Barrens for their mana base.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit into an archetype. I wouldn't watch out for it or anything at all.
No, not at all either. It's just weird, and I would be surprised if we really ever see it again outside of like the 2 to 4 point range.
Yeah, like
So
somebody's trying something out. They're brewing with good cards and just trying to
yeah,
rearrange them.
yeah.
That's all I think it is.
So 14th place with one deck on 3 points is Red White Rally the Peasants, and so this had like a 6th place finish or something in one of the challenges, top eights.
So this is just tokens.
Yeah, it's just white tokens with Soul Warden, Triplicate Spirits, and then it just had 2 copies of Rally the Peasants.
I know
And,
Rally the Peasants is a very good card.
yeah, and I mean it had some red mana to flash it back, but that's all it was.
Just tokens.
Yep. Also, not a deck that I would ever want to play in a meta full of Electriceries, Swirling Sandstorms, Augur of Boluses.
The sandstorms aren't too much of a problem since most of you guys have flying. But the Electriceries own you, and 2 toughness creatures kind of own you. Right?
Wait, what does Swirling Sandstorm do? It kills non-flyers, right?
Yeah, 5 damage to non-flying creatures if you have Threshold.
I think that isn't there only flying creature the spirits they get off Triplicate Spirits? The rest of them are like Raise the Alarm tokens.
And
I guess
then
they have Battle Screech.
Battle Screech is
Birds.
huge.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, maybe not Swirling Sandstorm, but Electricery and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if someone ever plays an affinity for islands, Spire Golem. That's probably not good.
And their solution a lot of the time to Electricery, which I think is the most problematic card, is they have to play like Ramosian Rally, and they have to have it, or that card can totally be counterspelled. And then what's the other card? Veteran Armor. They play Veteran Armor a lot of the time. And
what is that one?
It's a 2/2 for 2 that gives all of your other creatures +1 toughness.
Oh, right.
It's just too fragile.
It just gets burned away and then all your creatures die.
So I think this deck is pretty much right where it belongs. It has enough power to like make it.
I don't even know if it's right where it belongs.
It's a little bit high.
Yeah, the fact that it made a top 8, I think, is a little high.
Oh, it made the top 8. Okay, that's kind of crazy.
3 points means a top 8 because there's no combination of 2-point finishes that can make 3, right?
Yeah.
It either has 2 or 4, and if it didn't, it had 3, and that means it top 8'd.
So then, do you want to cover all of our 15th spot, all of the 2-point decks?
Yeah, we got a bunch of weird stuff in here. The first thing is Rug Sprout Swarm. This deck, literally, its only win condition is 2 copies of Sprout Swarm. And it's just like a bunch of... It played Cathartic Reunion and 2 copies of Lightning Axe. And there was just a lot of weird stuff with this deck. And
I mean, I guess?
I have a really hard time trying to find anything good to say about it. Besides the fact that Sprout Swarm is a pet card of mine, when we play Pauper Cube, I will always take a Sprout Swarm if I can. But this deck's not good.
Right.
And it's really interesting and bizarre, and it's cool, but I don't expect to ever see a deck like this again.
And then we have Blue Delver Mill.
Yep.
I've watched
Delvers of Secrets and Jace's Erasure.
So I've watched this YouTube channel Spell Slam play. He plays right now. He's playing just a ton of this Blue Delver Mill and then Black White Pestilence. I'm not a fan of either of those decks in any big way, but I like Pauper content, so I watch him.
Yeah.
So the sideboard plan is to board into a real mono blue Delver deck. And he does that.
A real mono blue Delver deck.
Exactly. It's so consistent that he just, well, it looks like we need, I'm not imitating his voice, but it looks like we need more counter spells. Let's play our spell stutter sprites and some number of Spire Golems and this package, and then he does better.
Just play mono blue Delver and then open up your sideboard to good sideboard cards.
Exactly. That's where I'm at on mono blue Delver Mill.
I'm sorry. This deck is bad, and if you play it, you should probably feel bad because
It's
you're
cute.
You're
if
not
you
winning.
want to mill your opponent, it's the best way to mill your opponent.
I guess, but you got to understand that you're not going to win a lot, and you're going to live a frustrating life just waiting to get that one win where you milled your opponent out.
Yeah. Yep.
Like you're in for a tough road, and if you understand that, and you're accepting of that, and this is the road you want to travel, I support you. But just know,
it's not optimal.
It's a long one. It's a hard one.
And you're going to be playing Mono Blue Delver most of the time without a sideboard. Because you've boarded into Mono Blue Delver, and now you don't have a sideboard because it's this mill plan that's not good.
So then at that point, it's like, if you want to play a mill deck and then you're just sideboarding into Mono Blue Delver and not milling them, what the heck's the point?
There's not one.
Yeah, so don't play these crappy mill cards. Go. I was trying to be kind and supportive of it, but if you're listening and you like this deck, here's some tough love. I love you. You're a great human person. You listen to my podcast. You're probably a better human than I am. But this deck stinks. Stop playing it. Okay? Tough love time.
The next one's Rallygond.
I like this deck. I think this deck is cool.
What's the
I don't
other
think it's
one?
good either, but
Yeah. What's the other version of this? No. Yeah, this is the better version.
this is the better. Yeah, this Midnight Gone was the other version, and now they've just kind of dropped the Midnight or doing the rally thing.
Yeah, Rallygond. I want to say it needs to be switched place with that red-white Rally the Peasants. Like, I think this is just the better version.
Like, this is a better version of the deck.
Like, if you want to play tokens, sure, go for Rallygond. It's still not quite there. It's like tier 2.5 to 2, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's like tier 3. I would say that like every deck on this list right now that we're reading, these 2-point decks are all like tier 3 decks.
In my mind, tier 3 is like unplayable, like the one land spy deck on this list.
Yeah. So
I think it's tier 2.5 to 2 because I do think it's playable.
I would call it tier 2 at all. I would say the tier 2 decks on our list are Red Deck Wins, Affinity, maybe Black-White Pestilence.
I'd say like 1.5 on Red Deck Wins.
I don't know. I would say like 1.5 is when we're getting into the Blue-Black Alchemy, Elves range. Burn is probably 1.5. And then the tier 1 decks I would call Skred, Boros Monarch, Stompy, Tribe Combo. Even like Marathon and Mono Blue Delver, I think, are like 1.5.
I think those are tier 1 decks.
Okay. You might be right about that. But like anything we're reading on this list right now with 2 points, these are all like tier 3 decks.
The problem is that Skred Delver is like tier 0.9. It's like over tier 1.
It's tier 0. It's level 0.
No, 0's like it has to be banned. This is just a little bit over tier 1, so we're just confused enough to not ban it.
Okay. All right. Next deck with 2 points is Blue-Red Compulsive Research. Its creatures were Moldrifter, Jeskai Sage, and Stormbound Geist. And then the other card in it that was notable was Compulsive Research, but then other than that, it just looks like a normal
main deck Stormbound Geist?
Yes.
My man.
Then we've got Mono Green Tron. Boggles is on the list at 2 points.
That Boggles.
Them Boggles. One Land Spy, which I think this deck is cool.
That is solidly spicy. Tier like 4.
No, it's tier 3. Come on.
No. You know when your Venn diagram?
Yeah.
The resiliency circle's gone. It doesn't exist. Its consistency circle is like a peanut. But its power circle's there. Like
is is it? I haven't actually played the deck or really seen the deck play out. I've just looked at the deck list. I imagine it's pretty explosive, right?
It's nothing but.
Right. It's kind of like playing Charbelcher in Legacy. Like,
Yeah.
you hope they don't have Force of Will, and you hope you can get there on like turn 1. Before they draw a Spell Piercer a Daze.
The problem is, I don't even know if there's a turn 1 hand in One Land Spy. I think you can construct one, but in reality, there's not one.
Looking at it, I would assume that this is like a turn 2, turn 3 deck.
Yeah, I'd say turn 3 is fairly realistic, but that also happens to be when they're holding up Counterspell, and you never have to tap out of Counterspell mana against this deck. It's not like, oh, I gotta put a clock on them. I'll take this turn and just hope they don't do it. No, you play your 1/1, you hold up Counterspell. They can't win. Period. Like,
right.
Spell Stutter Sprite stops them.
You take your 20 turns to kill them with your 1/1, and you just hold up your Counterspell. You win the game. That's funny. And I still think this deck is cool.
It's very cool.
At the same time, like, I think Charbelcher's a fun deck too. Like, I have nothing against sleeving up Charbelcher for Legacy. But again, it's back to that same old. You're not going to win a lot, and you're gonna do a lot of suffering for just that one. Oh, I had the nut.
Yeah.
But I mean,
someone did well enough in challenges to actually make it on the list, though. What the heck happened?
It wasn't well. It was like a top 30 finish.
So there must have been like 40 people that entered the challenge, and it beat somebody.
It was 32nd place. It barely made the cut.
I never thought I'd see the day. I never thought so.
I didn't either. But kudos to whoever could top 32 with One Land Spy. Let's see.
If you gain 4 life, that deck can't win. It's based on the number of creatures in their graveyard, and it only runs like 23 creatures or 24 creatures, something like that. It can only
deal, like, I think as far as I remember, like, when I counted, it was like 22 or 23.
And that's barring they don't...
Yeah, but that's taking into account, though, that you've probably exiled some Simian Spirit Guides.
Exactly.
So, like, optimally, the most damage this deck can do is, like, 21, 22.
Yeah.
So, play 3 gain a life lands? Heck, play 2 gain lands. And now they've got to rethink, like, can I go off here if I use the Simian Spirit Guide?
Play Radiant Fountain and a Karoo land.
Oh my gosh. Game over, man. Game over.
Then they've had to wait till turn 4 to try to go off. And oh my gosh.
This deck isn't good, but
everyone loves it.
It is cool. It is very cool. And our last deck, 15 points. Blue-Red Delver with no fairies, but 4 copies of Thermal Alchemist and 4 Lava Runners. So the fairy package, gone. I don't even remember if it had Ninja the Deep Hours. I think it was just Delvers, Alchemists, and Lava Runners.
The reason you don't remember that is your brain is saving space for relevant information, and this deck is not relevant information.
Yeah.
So real quick, I'm going to run down the decks that have made top 32 finishes but did not this month.
Okay.
So first we have Mono Black Land Destruction at 0. Past couple months, it has barely even touched the rankings. Black Red Madness in February.
Which, we haven't seen a deck since February, and it made a top 8 somehow.
Yeah, just one guy did it. I don't know. Freed from the Real made a top 8 last month.
Was it a top 8, or did it have 2 top 32 finishes?
It was a top 8.
It was a top 8? Okay.
Yeah. So one deck in the past 4 months. Grixis Metalcraft has been hovering around that 2 points slot, and it's fallen off.
Yeah, it had 3 in February, 0 in March, 2 in April, 0 this month.
I might have to check this, because my thing is saying Heroic hasn't placed since February?
I don't think that's correct.
Yeah, I'm going to double check on
Heroic
that.
I feel like we had Heroic on the list last month.
I'll check on that, but we know that it had 0 this month.
Yeah, it did not show up at all in any top 32s.
Turbo Fog, that's highly irrelevant. It's not very good.
We haven't seen it make a finish since February, where it had a top 5th through 8th place finish.
And then we've got this whole group of blue-black decks that Consult this Necrosage's deck is 0.
Brazil.
That we've been calling Brazil.
Ponytail.
Blue-black Delver it's not doing well. It got 2 points last month, 0 the month before. Blue-black Delver is kind of irrelevant now. Blue-black Flicker, I'm surprised it got 4 points last month, but that's it. Before then, it hadn't gotten any, and this month it hasn't gotten any, so that's irrelevant. Blue-red Flicker, nothing. Blue-red Pieces of the Puzzle, nothing. And Blue-white Delver, that was just like a single deck list that got 2 points, and it didn't get any this month, so I think that's basically dead.
There are just a lot of decks. This is 34 deck lists. Yeah. 34 unique decks. So there's actually a lot of diversity in this format. And now that we're starting to see all these top of the pack decks get closer together, I think things are looking a lot better. It's not like where we were in February, where it was Scred Delver at almost 80 points, and the next highest deck was 42 points or something. Yeah, 72 points for Scred Delver, and the next deck, Boros Monarch, had 45.
That's unhealthy.
Yeah, that is not good. And now we're starting to see, these top of the pack decks are starting to get clumped together a little better. Scred Delver is still clearly the best deck and on top by a margin, but everything's getting closer. Yeah, things are starting to balance themselves out slowly but surely.
So our big takeaway is the same as it is every week. If you want to win, play Scred Delver.
Yeah, play Scred Delver. I don't think that I don't know. I know last week I think I talked a lot about the variance and playing something more high variance and linear that's harder to interact with. Yeah. And I still think that that's the case if you don't want to be playing Scred Delver. But Scred Delver is just so consistent and its answers are just so reliable that it almost doesn't matter how linear your deck is. They'll just counterspell it. But still, if you don't want to play Scred Delver, my answer is play something linear. Play something that's consistent, fast, hard to interact with, like Tribe Combo or Stompy. Go under their counterspells. Go wider than their counterspells. Just hope they don't have counterspell.
Yeah.
But yeah, my answer is play Scred Delver if you want to win.
I think that basically wraps it up.
That's our power rankings for the month of this month, which is May. Cool. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to the show. Don't forget, if you liked what you heard, you can support us on patreon.com/common knowledge. Stay tuned for more, incentives. Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit more about those, try to get that stuff fleshed out and exactly what we want to do for you guys. But maybe we're going to thinking about monthly giveaways. Just doing fun stuff for you guys, making you guys excited about tuning in every week. Because I know as sultry as Sean and I's voices are, you need something more. And we're gonna deliver.
It does feel way different donating to something when you're getting something out of it. When you're just donating and feeling like you're a good person.
It's like a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
You get to donate to something that you want to support and feel good about that and going, I supported something that I like and that I feel good about backing. And then we're going to try to give back to you for supporting us. And so it's a 2-for-1. We love 2-for-1s. That's Magic players.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such value. What else can you guys do? You can, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do so with our email, commonknowledgemtg@gmail.com. You can ask us questions, give us feedback, whatever. We love hearing from listeners of the show. And you know what? If you ask us a question, we're really likely to read it on the show and answer your question.
Yeah, show
So
topics.
you'll
If
get
you
your-
want to hear about something specific,
yeah,
we'll do
show
it.
Topics. Yeah. Other than that, where can listeners find you, Sean, if they want to get in touch with you outside of the show?
On Twitter, you can find me at Lobbert8, Lobbert, number 8. If you talk to me on there, I'm super likely to respond. And you can follow my YouTube at Lobbert. Just go to YouTube, type in Lobbert, and I have some videos there. Hopefully I can find time this week to actually make a new one. I've been having a really hard time finding time for that. Where can they find you, Brandon?
You can find me on Twitter also at @bclark_ck, where you can pretty much hear just radio silence, except for my every once in a while I'll probably tweet something about Star Wars or something else.
Basically, when I tweet, you always respond.
Do I always respond to your
Pretty
tweets?
much always. Except for the one about the dog in a diaper.
What? I don't even know what you're talking about. Do I respond or do I just like and retweet them?
Usually respond.
Huh.
Why do you seem so confused?
I don't know. I just don't remember any of these interactions. I remember today where you blasphemed against the Star Wars gods. You blasphemous cur.
I mean, it's no Lord of the Rings.
I'm done.
Bye, everybody.